today I have the great pleasure of speaking with Tom Keating, who's the VP of Engineering and the Belfast site leader from the global corporation Proofpoint. And we have the great honor of co-hosting this webinar today with the research partner team under the cybersecurity theme. So Tom, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you very much, and thank you for having me on this.
Great, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today, Tom. So first question for you, where are you located and what's keeping you sane during the lockdown?
So I'm located in Belfast, and gosh, what are the things keep me sane through lockdown? I think the biggest thing for me is having a very structured day now that I'm working, rather than from home, which is generally a temporary thing, to working at home and trying to blend my personal life and work together. I do have a 9-year-old daughter who definitely will keep me sane or keep me grounded perhaps. And then now that things have lifted a little bit more, I get a chance to do classic social distancing, flying a plane, because I'm a private pilot, from about 3,000–4,000 feet. So that keeps me going.
Oh, that definitely keeps you going. Thanks, Tom. That's great. So the company you work for is Proofpoint, and they use the phrase, "Attackers start with people. Your security should too." Tom, it'd be really great if you could briefly tell our listeners about your role in Proofpoint.
Yeah, so we have a people-centric focus because people are actually the target out there today. And what we're trying to do is to get people to be aware that while it's very important to protect your perimeters and have all these various softwares on your machines, and because we're in a COVID environment now and we're in an isolated area outside of our office space, it is very important that our staff, who are our most valuable resource, are protected. And some of that is for training them, making sure they're very much aware of what cybersecurity is, what are the risks, so that they will pause for thought. Particularly, we're all using email, and we know from our experience that email is the #1 threat vector. If you can train people on that, that will prevent them from doing that click on that link, which as a human being, we get drawn into. And that's why we have that centric approach, because they are the weaker link, or they're an alternative approach to getting into an organization.
Yeah, and along those same lines, Tom, I suppose as more and more businesses go and speed up their digital transformation during COVID-19, tell us more about the cybersecurity implications of this.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge we have on the COVID-19 is what I said earlier, is that they're getting out of the work environment, so they're away from their IT specialists, the security specialists. And then you have to kind of make sure that people are having their machine set up correctly. They have all the patching inside there. Their passwords are appropriate. And that's really one of the fundamental problems being outside, because we take for granted being in the office space where you can walk down to the IT person or talk to other people. And then it's also people are isolated from each other. So it's very, very difficult. So they get a lot of Zoom fatigue, dare I say, because they have so many meetings. So you have to kind of balance that up so you don't lose the doing the work and the creativity side. So there's a few challenges around that.
And what kind of training does Proofpoint advocate for employees? Because you advocate that employees are part of the solution, but what kind of training do you advocate?
Yeah, I suppose the main thing with the training we try to focus on is understanding what the cybersecurity risks are, and kind of create a healthy paranoia to know what it is, because they are your first line of defense. They are the most important people in your organization, but they are the first line of defense. They're the people getting attacked. They're getting the emails with those links or the various attachments, and they're very well scripted and they're very well targeted from these organizations. So it's really trying to help them to make the decision to say, hey, that doesn't look right. I'll go ask somebody to confirm something before I click something or do an action that could provide a compromise. That's really where we really try to focus on.
Okay, and my next question is slightly different, but just tell me about cybersecurity and the threats, if any, from nation states.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might think that it isn't real, but it is real. I've worked in other organizations where I've seen it firsthand. And this is basically nation states who basically are attacking other nation states, and that could be through government or a military side or anything like that. But also they're going into the commercial space, companies within other areas trying to get secrets. But the key thing to understand, these are very targeted. These are not just random. They do their research. They understand who they're targeting within the organizations, within the area. And it is, you got to remember, you're dealing with some very, very smart people, just like yourselves on the other side, but they're just focusing on trying to break in to either get some IP or some secrets in that in itself. But it is real, and anybody can be a target. It's not just for a big, it could be a small organization also, or an individual if necessary.
Okay, and my last question for you, I suppose on a slightly more positive note, is what gets you or makes you excited about the future for cybersecurity?
Yeah, the thing that really has been it's always changing. There is no silver bullet solution to saying, ta-da, we solved it, now let's move on to the next thing. You're dealing with attackers that are changing and adapting. You have to change and adapt. It's almost like an arms race per se, but I think that's the exciting part and the intellectual challenge of solving some very complicated problems, trying to figure these things out. And then ultimately, there is a nice thing of you're protecting people, you're protecting companies and organizations, their IP and maybe their data. And that in itself is a motivator on top of the technical side and the fun side of trying to figure out these solutions to these problems.
Okay, thanks, Tom. That's great. So there's lots of questions coming in from our audience, and please do submit more questions. Here's the first one. I feel that cybersecurity is a disease that affects other people and not me. What exactly are the threats? What can go wrong? Can you provide specific examples?
Yeah, I know myself, before I got into cybersecurity, I would have thought similar. It can happen to anybody. In fact, anybody on this call is susceptible to it. If you are part of an organization, or you have something somebody wants, or you know somebody or connected to somebody, they will do their research to find a way to get to you. It could be directly to you or to somebody else. Most of the common attacks is to the number one threat vector, which is email. You will get this well-scripted email that looks so authentic and so real. They're trying to motivate you to click something or download something or give information to steal credentials. And we've seen that throughout the COVID, like particularly people like who are using even online. We all, when we went to COVID, we all went online shopping. We all were watching streaming. Well, actually those areas were areas for credentials theft. They were sending emails to fool people to thinking that you're on the Netflix or Disney Plus or Apple TV, whatever the case may be. So it is real. It happens to all. There's loads of examples out there. The best one is it is through email and well scripted, well thought out emails to fool you to do that click, because you are the weakest link as the individual. You're that human to be fooled.
That's an interesting way of putting it. But what kind of data are hackers most likely looking for, Tom?
You know, it really depends. It depends on the organization. So sometimes if you're part of an organization that might have some intellectual property, maybe on some new technologies or new products you're bringing out, then they will target you. Or maybe you as an individual might have access to funds and be able to transfer funds, and they fool you into to doing these transfers. It really is depending on what their need is, and can be information. It could be just to compromise you. It could be to get information about you, or it could be actually to get information about all the people you know about, because they're using you as a stepping stone. So
Okay.
it is a variety of reasons, to be brutally honest. It's never ending.
And just your personal opinion on, so a lot of people's personal data, personal information, close work information is in the cloud now. So how safe is that?
Yeah, that's great. Great question.
I always wonder that myself, actually.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I like that question.
Yeah, I suppose if you're the classic pessimist, you'd say you're actually taking your data and putting it on someone else's computer. That's what a cloud really is. So it really depends on the security. There are a lot of security technologies out there to make sure that your data is encrypted, it's secured, and it's safe. And there's a lot of protocols that you can have out there to determine whether someone's accessing this data. I think really the question would be is what data you're storing up there, why are you putting it up there, and are you okay if it's something like a Facebook or a Twitter and something like that goes up onto a cloud, are you okay with that information? Most people would be fine. But if you're going to something that you're storing company information, well, then you need to make sure that that is well secured and hardened by the provider, and that their procedures are actually strong. And that's what you'd have to verify to make sure that your data is protected. But then you need to make sure it's encrypted, all those various aspects of it. But while I say that, that is what the attackers will work on to try to figure out how to get the information, to decipher that that information, or fool somebody else to pretend they're them to get you to do something. So I think there needs to be, as I said earlier, maybe it's a pessimistic view, but a healthy pessimistic view on that your data is there. Just keep an eye on it. Make sure you have the right procedures around it. If not, well, then you don't know where it's going to go. Just don't put it up there hoping somebody else will do it. You need to verify that they are doing it, or you can do something yourself.
Okay. So another question from the floor. Are there examples of cyber attacks that have killed businesses?
There have been many out there of companies that have gone to the wall as a result, because one of the biggest risks, it's funny, you must probably think, gosh, did they clear out their bank or something like that? Yeah, that definitely can be a problem. But actually, reputation is one of the biggest problems you will have if you had particularly private information and it got leaked out. The reputation damage is not alone that that information get leaked out, but you didn't take the appropriate checks and take serious protecting our data. So yes, companies have gone to the wall, and they have gone because they didn't take security seriously enough. And that's why we've taken that approach, and we try to advise people on the people-centric view in this, is that if you focus on that, that will help your company, to protect your company, to protect the credibility of your organization. Yeah. So yeah, it is there and it happens. That is another side effect, unfortunately, of it.
And actually, it's a very similar question, but it's about exactly that, the reputations. Can companies rebuild their reputations after widely reported cyber attacks? I mean, is that possible?
It is possible, and it really depends on the response to the attack. It also depends on maybe some cases, with all the processes and procedures you put in place, they got passed through something else you never thought of, and sometimes customers can be forgiving, so to speak, but it really depends on what has been leaked out or what has been stolen or whatever, you know what I mean? It is one of those things that if you are looking after and protecting other people's data, information, you have to take it very serious, and there is no kind of it will be okay. No, you have constant monitoring of your systems. You have all the technologies and all the analysis going on all the time, and that's why I said at the start when you asked me what the passion about it and being involved in cybersecurity is it's changing all the time. So the security changes all the time. The attack vectors change all the time. So you as a person holding on to that information need to change with it and adapt with it. But if you do things, there are companies who have survived as a result because they did all that was necessary, and people feel like, okay, we've learned from it, everyone learns and moves forward. But it's not a given. All this depends on your clients.
Okay, we've probably time for another 2 questions, Tom. So this is a long one, so there's a couple of questions built in, but I'll try my best. So can you talk about education regarding best practices for internal comms? Do people actually recognize this as a potential security threat? I've received plenty of emails from my uni or previous employer while there that made it difficult to determine whether they were a phishing attempt or genuine. I get the sense that this is an underappreciated problem that lowers the bar or safety against external attacks.
That's a super question, and it's an issue that we've looked at even in our company, is that while you protect the perimeter and you protect everything going in and you have all that sorted, if someone does get in, they're sending communications across the company. So in this case would be in the university. So we try to, yes, we do take it very serious, absolutely. And we would always look at it. We have an internal, the same technologies that are used to protect you externally should be protect you internally, so that even if you get an email, let's say from myself, and you said, well, I know who Tom is, it will detect to say, oh, hang on a minute, he's sending a link that doesn't make sense, or it's a link that's going out, or an attachment with some malware in it. That's, it is in case of, well, Thomas is inside, he's okay. We actually have the same technologies going through our system, because you have to take it serious. But you'd be surprised how many companies do not do that. And it is very important, because that is another weak link. You get an attacker who can get in, compromise someone's account, and suddenly everyone's getting an email from somebody they believe to be in the organization. So you have to, again, be healthy on your paranoia and going, these need to be checked also once you're internally. So yeah, you definitely, and I would agree, it's some people don't think about that. They only think that once I've protected the perimeter, I'm okay. no, you've got to protect internally also. But the good thing is the technologies that you're using externally can be applied internally appropriately, and alert you and identify to you that, hey, this might be a problem. Maybe don't click on it. Ask the person. That's why I'd always say, if an email looks a bit suspect, or you feel that's a bit funny, that person be sending me this, go to a different channel and reach out to them and ask them, hey, did you send me this thing? Why are you sending me pictures of holidays? Oh, I didn't. Thanks very much. Then you can identify, maybe go to your IT group and look at it.
Okay, and last question, I suppose in the last kind of 30 seconds, cybersecurity as a career for our younger listeners. I suppose, sell it to me in 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's, as I said, it's a dynamic environment. It's an environment, if you like challenge, you like solving problems, you like working with people, protecting people, valuables, be it monetary, be it their intellectual property, or protecting their businesses. It's such a dynamic thing that I really love it from that point of view. And I think anyone getting involved, you will be intellectually challenged, but that's the thing why you get into it. You want to be challenged and you want to solve those problems. And then when you solve it, there's a new one around the corner to go and fix, and it's something new on you. So it'll never be dull. Believe you me, this is an ongoing challenge, and I find it very exciting, as well as it's kind of sad in one sense. There are people actually going out and about trying to do this, but then, you know, there's been people breaking into houses, breaking into premises. This is the same thing. It's just virtual now, but I do like it. I think it's a good career to be in.
Thanks so much, Tom. So just, it looks like we're out of time. So firstly, wanted to say a huge thank you to Tom. Very fascinating and interesting discussion today. Thanks so much, Tom.
Sure, you're more than welcome.
And thanks so much to our audience. And don't forget that we run these short webinars each week. And so check out zoomforthought.ie or sign up at discovery@ucd.ie. Thank you so much again, Tom, and thanks everyone. Have a really great day. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.